Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Move Plus. I hope you've had an awesome day. Our workout today is going to kick off with the warm-up, so a little bit of time just to grease the joints, get everything moving nicely. We're then going to go into the build workout, which is going to be an 8-minute alternating EMOM. We're going to see some dumbbell deadlifts, up downs, hang high pulls, that sort of thing. So that's going to go back and forth. The move section after that is going to be a couplet of dumbbell snatches and lateral up downs over the dumbbell. So we'll have a look at that a little bit more in depth when we get there. As for now, we'll check out that warm-up. So we're going to be kicking off with 1 minute of cardio of your choice. Now, what we're going to do today is alternate back and forth between running high knees and running butt kicks, and we're going to do them in 15-second blocks. So we'll go through each of them twice for that full first minute. From there, we're going to go into 3 sets of 30 seconds on a dumbbell strict press. Okay, so pressing to overhead, into 30 seconds of a goblet squat. So that couplet will repeat for 3 sets, and then the final minute is going to be alternating V-ups. So setting up in that hollow position and moving to the opposite foot there. Okay, good to go, Em?
Yep.
Alrighty, so starting in 10 seconds, minute of cardio of your choice. You can do what we're doing, or if you want to be a little bit creative, you can do something your own style. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So 15-second block on the running high knees, and then a 15-second block on the butt kicks, and we go through that twice to make up that full 60 seconds. So nice and light and bouncy on the balls of the feet. We're trying to get those knees up to hip height. That's kind of our marker we're trying to work with, and switching to the butt kicks. So you notice that Em's put the hands behind her butt as a target for her heels to hit. That way she knows she's getting that full leg movement each time. 3, 2, 1, and running high knees again. So this is just a nice basic one. It doesn't require any equipment, doesn't require any space. You can just hit it right on the spot. So a good one to do if you're in a bit of confined space, like in your bedroom or living room, if you don't have a lot of room to move around. And back on butt kicks again. So at the end of this minute, guys, we go into that couplet of the presses and the goblet squats, 30 seconds apiece for 3 rounds. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So Em's operating with a single dumbbell, guys. With this one, if you happen to have 2 dumbbells, you happen to have a barbell, a loaded backpack, a small child, whatever you got access to, start working with that. We want to see that nice press to a full lockout position. We're going to really brace through the abs, and the legs are going to be active too, not in the sense that they're going to be moving or helping, but they're going to brace and lock in to create a nice stable base underneath that upper body. 3, 2, 1. So we can see that change of dumbbell position. She goes to both hands on the top head, and we're flaring those knees out, creating a nice externally rotated position through the hips. Em's very mobile, so she has quite a narrow squat stance. If you need to squat a little wider to be able to create a bit of space, that's totally fine too. Three, 2, 1. So back onto the press. Now, if you are someone who happens to have a few options with the weight, guys, if you happen to own a few different dumbbells or kettlebells, or if you have the ability to load and deload a backpack, go for something fairly light through here. This is just the warm-up, so we want to allow that body time to kind of elevate towards our working intensity. 10 more seconds. We want to see that head pop through at the top so we get that nice locked out position. All right, goblet squat. So although this should be fairly light, it being the warm-up, guys, still keep your eyes on the fact that that dumbbell will want to pull you forward and kind of get your body into sort of a slouchy position. It's going to weigh down that upper back. So stay nice and tall, keep that dumbbell close. Should be right up against the insides of your collarbones there. 3, 2, 1, and back on the presses. So one more time through this couplet. So nice and controlled. You'll see at the bottom there, she's kind of keeping the forearms underneath the dumbbell. So as soon as she drives, she's got that direct power drive through the dumbbell. She's not got them tucked back behind it. 3, 2, 1, and onto the goblet squat one last time. So as Em's squatting down, what she's doing is she's kind of pushing outwards against the ground. So the outside ridges of her shoes are going to feel a lot of pressure, like she's trying to slide them apart. And that's going to get those hips and the outside of that glute to really kick in and support what we're doing. Three, 2, 1, and we're coming down to those alternating V-ups for the final minute now. So hollow position, the legs are going to go back and forth. Both arms are going to be coming up to meet the foot. If you can reach your toe, awesome. If you're a little bit tight through the hamstrings, aim for the knots in your shoelaces or aim for your socks, mid-shin. Just try to find a consistent spot that we're reaching for so that movement doesn't sort of fall apart halfway through. You want to be having that standard of movement, whatever that might be for you. Try and keep it consistent all the way through. Okay, 20 more seconds. So little strategic breaks along the way is totally fine. Okay, last 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and done. All right, that is the warm-up done, guys. We're gonna have a little bit of a chill, grab some water. We're gonna have a look at the build section next. Alrighty guys, so now that we're nice and warmed up, we're gonna check out the build workout. This one is 8 minutes and it's an alternating EMOM. So minute 1, what we're gonna be doing is 2 movements. We've got 5 dumbbell deadlifts. So we're going from an upright position to a hinge position, touching dumbbells to the floor. That then goes into 5 dumbbell up downs. So dumbbells to the ground, jumping out, jumping in, and then standing back up nice and tall. So that's minute 1. Minute 2, what we're gonna do is 15 dumbbell hang high pulls. So that is hang position, high pull up towards the collarbones. And we do 15 reps on that. So in either of these minutes, guys, if you finish early, which hopefully is the plan, you'll get a little bit of rest towards the tail end of each minute. That way you'll be able to recover before the next one. Good to go? Yep. All right, starting in 10. So we have the 5 dumbbell deadlifts into the 5 up downs in minute 1. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So most important thing with the deadlift, and it's also going to be the same in the up down because we're going to be standing them up as well, is keeping that back nice and straight. We never want to operate this movement with a rounded back. So make sure you keep an eye on that. Moving into these up downs now, you'll see the same kind of setup. When she jumps the feet in, she takes a moment to engage into a similar kind of deadlift position. It'll probably be a little lower through the hips because we're going both heads of the dumbbell to the ground. The normal deadlift, we can just go front heads of the dumbbells to the ground. So she's got herself a good sort of 25, 30 second rest there. She can just chill now. Second minute, we have those hang high pulls for 15. Ten seconds. All right, in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So hang position, guys, we want to stay above knee height. So although we're allowed to get a little bit of run up here, we don't have too much run up. So it's kind of part of the challenge of this one is you have to be very rapid with that hip extension. Once the hips have extended, we pull into the shrug and then the arms finish off the last little bit. We're looking for collarbones being the top marker. So you're trying to get the bar of the dumbbell to collarbone height. We're doing 15 reps of this one. Nice. Okay, so again, similar sort of time frame. She's got herself a little bit of rest now. If you have picked a weight that this is taking you 45, 50, 55 seconds, probably gone a little bit heavy. So if you've got the ability to drop that back a little bit, I want to try and keep in that sort of 30 to 40 second range. Okay, going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So as I mentioned before, guys, the deadlift, we've just got the front end of the dumbbell coming down. She's got the nice vertical shin position, so she's really wound back on those hamstrings. And then we're going to move into that double head to the ground position with the dumbbell there, so it's completely flat, so we can rest on it. You can jump those legs out. We want to hit a nice straight push-up position. So even if it means you've got to slow this down to check in, am I nice and open through the hips? Are my knees locked out? Is my body nice and straight? Do that because it's worth that sort of quality check. Make sure we're looking good with that. Okay, 10 seconds. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and go for the hang high pulls. Now, one of the things that can be a common mistake with this one, guys, is pulling the arms too early. So hitting that hang position and then arms pulling as we're coming up. What you want to do is hip extend into a shrug, and then once that momentum is carrying into the dumbbells, then you pull the arms. So they're kind of the last things to fire. You notice that Em's kind of keeping her eyes laser pointed straight ahead. Her head's kind of attached to that one point straight ahead. She's not looking down and then looking up. I'm going to keep that posture really tall. Okay, so that was our halfway round. We're on the downhill run now with this 8-minute alternating EMOM. Okay, going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So it takes the time to set up that nice straight back. Stance is quite narrow with this, especially because we've got dumbbells. We want to be able to fit them sort of either side of the feet. We don't want to go too wide on that one. Nice active shoulders in that lockout position, so she's not slumping into it at the bottom or having any kind of arm bend. She's really just pushing the ground away. Okay. Okay, going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So what you might find along the way as fatigue creeps in, and if these dumbbells start to feel difficult enough, is that you might even start to pop up onto your toes a little bit, which is totally fine. At the moment, Em's obviously traveling all right, she's keeping those heels down, but if you need that extra little bit of boost of power, you can actually elevate up a little bit and get that triple extension through the legs. Nice, Em. So in between rounds, guys, if you feel maybe a little stiff in the hamstring, especially with something like the deadlift or the up down, do a little bit of mobility, do a little bit of stretching, kind of review your technique. Does something feel off about it? Does something feel sort of unstable? Have a think about how you can improve it along the way. The more efficient we can be, the better. Three, 2, 1, and go for it. So you notice with this that Em's going to keep the lats really strong, which keeps those dumbbells in line with her shins and her midfoot the entire time. Be a similar sort of story with these ups downs as well. What we don't want to have is when we lean over those dumbbells swaying out in front of us and being loose through that upper back. Even though the deadlift is predominantly sort of lower body, hamstrings, glutes, lower back, we want to get the whole body involved to support that movement. So we've got one more round to finish off. Ten seconds. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So last round, we're on here, these hang high pulls again. Now, hopefully you've picked a weight that allows you to go unbroken. If you've gone a little too heavy and you're having to break that up, it's not too big of an issue, but this is the sort of thing where we want to compact the work into that first half of the minute. We don't want to be chewing up too much of our rest time. It's not going to matter too much of this being the last round, but if you had that happen right from the start where it was taking you the whole minute because you're having to break it up a lot, it can obviously double that fatigue up, which we don't want. So still got about 30 seconds left in the minute, so if you are still going, guys, that's totally fine. Just keep working through that. "15 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and done. All right, so that is the build section done, guys. Have a bit of a chill, get some water in, and then we're gonna have a look at the move section next. Alrighty, so guys, now we're going to move into the move section of the workout. So how this one is going to run is every 2 minutes for 6 rounds, so 12 minutes in total. We are going to do 20 alternating dumbbell snatches, which is going to look like this. So ground, overhead, changing arms along the way. That's going to then roll into 12 lateral up downs over the dumbbell. So sitting up next door to it, down, over the top, down and over the top, doing that for 12. So whatever time you have left out of that 2 minutes, you can rest. If it runs right up to the 2 minute marker there, just drop what you're doing, start back on the snatches straight away. Good to go?
Yep.
All right, starting in 10. So every 2 minutes for 6 rounds, 20 snatches, 12 lateral up downs over the dumbbell. And go for it. So as we move through this one, guys, really important that at the bottom we get both heads of the dumbbell to touch the floor, just so we get that full standard of movement. At the top, we should see all of the joints locked out, stacked nicely on top of each other. So knees, hips, shoulders, head, everything lined up, elbow locked out at the top there. Making sure that you don't finish with that dumbbell out in front of you. You should actually kind of disappear out of view just for a moment when we hit that lockout. And safety-wise, we're looking at keeping a really nice straight back as we move through that hinge pattern coming down to the ground. Once we hit our 20, we're going to put the dumbbell down and go into those 12 lateral up downs over the dumbbell. Nice. Okay, so important thing to note here that the setup that Em's got, notice that she started with her feet next to the dumbbell, not her hands, right? The feet is the part of the body that's going to be clear in the dumbbell, so we're going to make sure that they're not set up too far back, which is what happens if we have the hands next to the dumbbell. So when you set up, make sure you stand next to it. Your hands will end up a couple of feet out in front, which is totally fine. Means that when we stand up, we've got that object there to actually clear versus being behind it and not really having an object to move over the top of. All right, so about 40 seconds rest there. That's round 1 down. And we've got 5 more rounds to go. Okay, 20 more seconds. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and go. So something to check out here, as Emily is bringing that dumbbell down, she's got the other hand kind of open and ready, and she's going to switch hands about head height or below. Sometimes we'll see people do a really high overhead change. What that does sometimes is encourage us to fall short of that full lockout. We kind of end up with the hands forward. So see, she's just kind of waiting for it to come down about head height, and that way she can kind of see it happening in front of her as well. There's no risk of her missing the other hand and having it clunker in the head. And a really nice rapid hip extension motion. So the arm is really just chasing the dumbbell up. All the speed and momentum is actually coming from her hips extending, her legs driving, and a little bit of shrug as well. So she's really lifting that shoulder girdle to get that dumbbell to move. Moving into these up downs, you want to check in that every single rep we're hitting a really beautiful push-up position at the bottom. So not shortcutting it, going into kind of like a tight tucked position. You want to make sure you're stretching those legs out, keeping that belly tight, making sure that we don't end up with the hips too far down or too far up. We're going to be right in the middle. Nice. All right, so nice consistent time there. That's 2 rounds down. Okay, 20 seconds. Three, 2, 1, and go for it. So third round, So a couple of different little variations you can do with this movement. Right now, Emma's doing a power snatch style. So you can see as she comes up, she does this little kind of double dip. She sort of re-drops underneath. It's only by a little bit, but she's re-dropping underneath to catch under that dumbbell. If you're able to, you can also muscle snatch as well, which is just going to be a straight leg lock out. There's no re-dip on that one. So ultimately, it's kind of up to you. The muscle snatch is a little bit faster, but also requires a little bit more effort. So depending on what the weight is, you might be better served going for that power snatch where we kind of drop in underneath it and get that little sort of quarter squat. And as the dumbbell feels heavier and heavier, as that fatigue kicks in, you can start to drop deeper and deeper, depending on what your mobility level's like. Nice. So you can see she's staying in that nice kind of low tuck as she goes over the dumbbell. It's not like a normal up, down, or burpee where we have to hit full extension. We just have to clear that dumbbell. So it's actually quicker if we stay slightly kind of locked down through those hips and then moving in a nice tight tuck position. Okay, 10 seconds. Going in, 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So I mentioned earlier, guys, that it's really important we keep our back straight as we go into the bottom section of this, so when we're touching the ground. Now, if you find you've got really tight mobility and you're having to round off or kind of collapse things in to get to the ground, don't worry about actually touching the ground. What Em can do is actually go to what we'd call like a deep hang position, which is just below knee height, okay? And it's where she can maintain a nice straight back. That's much more important than the actual ground touch. So feel free to adjust it to that. Over time, the goal is to be able to get that dumbbell to the floor with good positioning, but we'll do that as your mobility picks up along the way. All right, so going back to the up down. So again, we're going to see that nice little kind of tuck position as she jumps the dumbbell. And you can see the eyes are kind of cast down the whole time, which is good because that way she can kind of keep an eye on where that dumbbell is. Sometimes if we're looking elsewhere, the feet can move around a little bit. We can start to move where we are in regards to that dumbbell without even knowing. So it's important to keep that safety first, checking where it is. Okay, so that's 4 rounds out of the 6 done. Okay, 20 seconds. About to roll up on round 5. Three, 2, 1, and go. Now, one of the things you can do if you're maybe a little bit newer to this movement, guys, or it feels a little bit kind of clunky, feels like you're trying to go too fast, is slow things down and actually change hands on the ground with the dumbbell. Okay, so it's a little bit slower, but if you're a bit newer to this, this can be a good way to just kind of take your time working through it rather than changing on the way down. Okay? Nice work, Em. So you can see that really nice big shrug. She's driving up into the shoulders. That dumbbell's just going to float straight to lockout. One of the things you could do if you wanted to scale this movement is if you do it with the front end slightly elevated. So if you've got some stairs or any kind of ledge, you can have that where your hands would be up on that ledge. That would just create a little bit of an incline position. It's a little bit easier. You'd have the dumbbell in the same position, but that might be a good way to scale if you need to. We've got one more round to go. Okay, 20 seconds, about to roll in the last round. Three, two, one, and go for it. So final round, really push a lot of intensity on this one. So no matter how deep we are in the workout or how much fatigue there is, we're still maintaining that nice high chest position at the bottom. Knees are nice and open, feet are staying nice and grounded. So we're keeping all those pointers in check. She's still hitting that nice lockout position overhead. She's not shortcutting that. See as well, she's going into a neutral position with the hands. So it's like her palm faces inward rather than facing forwards. Sometimes that forwards position allows the shoulder a little bit too much range of motion. It starts to get a little wobbly, whereas a neutral position is going to kind of lock it in place. So last set, we're sprinting out this last set of 12. Nice work, Em. Nice, all right, awesome. So that was a nice quick round for that last one. We've still got just under a minute to go on that timer. So if you are still going, guys, just work through it. And then we'll finish this up in about 45 seconds. Last 20 seconds on the clock, guys. Ten seconds. 3, 2, 1, and done. All right, guys, that was the move section. Grab a drink, have a bit of a chill, and then we're gonna have a look at a little bit of stretching to finish off next. Alrighty guys, so now that all the hard work's done, we're gonna cool things down with a bit of stretching. The first drill we're gonna look at is a standing leg swing. So Em set herself up with just a balance point on the wall there, and she's gonna go 30 leg swings on each side. So trick with doing, yeah, go for it. Trick with doing this one is keeping the rest of the body nice and still, right? So the leg that you're swinging, we're gonna try and keep that knee locked out. So really all we're seeing, most of the movement is just at the actual hip itself. You find your body kind of like leaning forward or arching back as that leg moves. Try to keep that nice and still and just move at the hip joint itself. So when she gets to 30, she's going to change sides. So that wall's there just so she doesn't lose balance. Obviously the weight shift is going to be quite a bit as that leg swings back and forth. So hold onto a wall, hold onto a door frame, whatever you've got access to. So she's changing sides now. And we want to think about as well, if you are quite tight through the hamstrings, the temptation will be that you will put a big bend in your leg as you come up. Work with a lower swing, but a straighter leg, and then over time start to wind that up higher and higher as you go. So you can see Em's got nice flexible hamstrings. She's coming right up to head height there. So that is the goal down the track. But we want to make sure we're prioritizing that knee lockout early in the piece. Nice. All right, so that's our first drill. Second one we're going to do is an overhead tricep stretch. So with this one, we are setting up one arm going over the top, Gonna grab onto that elbow so you can see this hand is between the shoulder blades. She's gonna, using her left arm, kind of draw that right arm over, and she can even lean over towards me a little bit as well. Now we'll do this one for 45 seconds each side, so timer's on. And really looking at this tricep, right? So this is the muscle at the back of your upper arm, does a lot of our pressing movements, our arm extending movements. So just getting into that and then leaning it over, you'll also be able to kind of extend the stretch down into like the lats down the side here, a little bit of your obliques as well. And you can kind of tension on and off. So you can see she's kind of rocking in and out of it a little bit and just kind of massaging it over and opening up that tricep muscle. Okay, 5 more seconds. And switching sides. So this one, if you're really super duper tight through the shoulders, can be a tricky one to get into sometimes. So if you've got a partner or a friend that can help kind of press that arm over, that helps too. You can even sort of wedge your elbow against a door frame or a wall and lean into it, and that will help kind of push that back. But as I said earlier, we're going to try to pulse sort of tension on and off as we go through it. Try to breathe through the stretch, get that nice and loose. 3, 2, 1, and done. So those are our 2 drills, guys. If you've got time, go through that 3 or 4 times, get the body nice and opened up. Otherwise, we will catch you next time. That was your Move Plus workout.